welcome to Mondays with Marlo. There's been a big controversy over something called Common Core. And Common Core, from what I understand from our expert Lisa Holton today, is that Common Core is
a set of standards.
A set of standards. Yeah. And put up by the Education Department of Education, or who?
No, actually a group of governors got together and said we'd like common set of standards that we'd like to help our children master. And it was states that actually came together.
And this came about because American children rank so low around the world in math and other things?
And English, really.
And English,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what happened is they said, you know what? We're not getting our kids ready for college and career.
Right.
And in order to do that, we need to have rigorous standards, right? We need to say all of our children, by the time they graduate high school, they need to have been able to do a common set of things. And why don't we come together as states so that we can agree on those things, and so that children who move from one state to the other don't start over with a different set of standards.
So that sounds very reasonable.
It does.
So what's the bad part? The bad part is it's too much pressure on the kids? What is it? Is it government telling us what we have to learn?
I think what's happened is the words Common Core have become this lightning bolt.
Yeah.
And really, a lot of people are talking about testing and high-stakes testing, which is different from the standards. It's about how you test to see if those kids have actually mastered.
But it demands tests.
It demands tests.
Right. If you say, okay, this is what children have to know in order to be ready to go to college and have a career.
Exactly.
Now, how do we get them ready except to teach them and then test if they learned it?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, testing is not inherently bad, right? Because you need tests to be able to see.
But who's making the tests? That's the question?
Right. Who's making the tests? How hard are the tests? And how are we helping students and teachers prepare for the tests in a way that helps them holistically?
And that's where you come in, right? With
that's where we
Classroom
come in,
Inc.
exactly.
You're the president of Classroom Inc.
I am.
That's wonderful. So what you're doing is helping children become more literate. Is that?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
So tell us what you do. Do you make up tests? Do you help parents? Do you help teachers do the tests? I mean, exactly what do you do?
So here's what we do. We look at the standards, the Common Core standards, and say, okay, if you're a 9th grader and I want to help you understand how to read an article, right, and understand fact from opinion, but you're reading at a 4th grade level, how am I going to do that? Well, what we do is we just change the whole equation. We say, I'm going to give you a game. I'm going to create a learning game, and I'm going to ask you to be a boss, to be a professional, and I'm going to say you're in charge and you get to hire and fire and make decisions, and in the process you're reading, you're thinking critically, you're mastering the standards.
That's great.
And
you're
testing.
Learning math.
You're learning math, right? And you're actually learning, most importantly, about careers, right? So then in terms of testing, what we do is we use the games and they become the test.
So you're in the games business.
We're in the games business, but we're really in the curriculum and testing business, but it's through games.
Is it all through games?
It's all through games.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love games for
Do
kids.
you?
I really do.
Yeah.
I really believe in it. I trained to be an English teacher, and I love teaching. I think it's wonderful. That's why I did Free to Be You and Me and all those pieces, because I really think that you can teach children so much through entertainment.
Well, I'm a Free to Be product, so
well, I made you say
I hope
that.
you did a good job.
So we asked you where that came from.
Yeah.
So on your website, there are some things about Common Core, and so Classroom Inc. isn't Common Core. Classroom Inc. is something that helps teachers teach children the Common Core.
Exactly.
Yeah, great,
Exactly.
okay.
Yep.
And then let's see here now. So what kind of improvement, this is from Chris, hi Chris, what kind of improvement and success rates have kids seen in their testing scores after using Classroom Inc.?
Oh, thank you, Chris, for asking that. Usually what we see is kids gain an average of 1.5 years of reading level from the beginning to the end of the program, and 1 in 8 or 9 months in terms of math, which is a huge leap for kids who are usually starting far behind.
So when you say for the length of the program, that's 1 year?
Yeah.
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 Well, that's amazing that you can do that. And Phil wants to know, can you apply what is used in Common Core to everyday life?
Absolutely. In fact, here's what I would say. If you think about America today, if you can't read above a 5th grade level, you probably can work, but you can't earn a living wage, right? Because our society is so complicated and you need to solve problems and think critically and figure things out. So Common Core, when I ask kids to look at vocabulary and understand what it means in the context of complex, different types of text, that's just saying, I need you to be able to do that to be successful in your job.
So who are you doing battle with? Who doesn't want Common Core?
Well, I try to stay out of the battle.
Oh, but you know about it.
Yes.
So what is it?
Okay, so I think the
it?
battles, there's a couple battles. There's politics, right? So governors and the federal government are arguing. And then I think about whether or not Common Core first of all, whether it's a state or a federal subject. And actually it's really both, because it was started by the states. But I think a lot of parents are upset, aren't they? Because of the tests. Because what's happened is that Common Core, which are standards, came out through curriculum, right? With ours and other people create curriculum, and then tests have been rolled out, and students are being asked, obviously, to hit more rigorous standards, and the tests, the parents feel, they feel a variety of things. I don't know.
What do they feel?
They feel that their kids are really stressed, that there's a lot of test prep. They're worried about how much kids are actually learning in school versus how much they're testing.
You know, when I went to school 100 years ago, our classroom was divided by names of birds.
Really?
And the bluebirds, you figured out after a while, were the smart kids.
Right.
And the robins were the medium kids, and the sparrows were the dumb kids. And once you figure that out, you don't want to play with the sparrows, and you wanted to be a bluebird and not a robin. But that was a terrible way to define us, and we sat in different sections. You know, our bluebird books were just a little bit, better looking.
Ours was magenta.
You
figured out if you were magenta, something was.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
So what's different about that? In other words, that's what we suffered under.
Yes, that's a great question.
Yeah, but what's different?
What's different than the bluebells and the sparrows and the magenta? So the other philosophy underlying the Common Core is that every single student in America should have the opportunity and the ability to hit the most rigorous standard, right? And Classroom Inc. is all about going into communities who are under-resourced, where students actually often are far behind, and saying, if we give you the right material, we can get you to that standard. So we're going to get the bluebirds and the sparrows.
I see. So what you're saying is there shouldn't be any sparrows.
Exactly.
That everybody should be able to learn, but we have to customize? You have to customize some of these tests, right?
Well, you can, actually what's nice about technology right now is you can customize. Like one of the things that our games do is if you're playing the game and I am, and you need more help, the game automatically helps you and supports you.
And it must also take into consideration language.
Yeah,
right. Because not all of American children have a first language of English, so you do it also in Spanish and other things?
We don't do it in Spanish, but we actually serve a lot of English as second language students, and they get support so that if they're trying to read English, sometimes it goes lower and helps them more and helps them have more context. Sometimes if you're trying to read, right, and you're having a hard time, because you're an English teacher, you just need context, you need another way in, right? You just need other strategies to help you. It's not that you can't do it.
And telling a story is such a big part of that.
Telling a story is huge.
Yeah.
You know
really
that
helps.
from your...
Really helps.
Yeah.
Let's see here. This is from Serena. Do you believe Common Core properly takes into consideration students from diverse backgrounds, such as low-income households, or students that suffer from learning disabilities? So that's a whole other ballgame, isn't it, learning disabilities?
That's a great question, Serena. So I think, again, when we talk about the Common Core, there's the standards, and then there's what have we all done and are we all doing to help teachers, right, get their kids who have learning disabilities or who need more help to master those standards. I think they're two different things, and one of my dreams and hopes is that all of the stuff swirling around about politics and other things, that we could all just focus on how do we give them more support, the teacher in the classroom, right? Again, it's when we say, does Common Core take it into account? Common Core is saying, let's get all those kids there. It's not saying, here's how you do it.
Right. And then, do these tests sometimes hold a child back from going to the next class? I bet that's where parents get upset too. Because if you don't meet that standard in a year, then what happens? Then you get held back a year?
Well, it depends on the school. I think the schools are still in control of how they handle that.
So Julie wants to know, what is the biggest misconception about Common Core?
Great question. I think the biggest misconception is A, that it means that it's a test. B, that it was forced by the federal government, because actually it came up through the states. I think those are the two biggest things.
So the thing is Common Core is not the test.
Right.
Common Core are the standards that lead to the test.
Exactly.
Oh my God. I pass. I'm a bluebell all over
If you could
again.
just go out and tell a lot of people that, I think we'd have a lot more, a lot less confusion.
This is from Dan.
Okay.
He says, I read an article on the Atlantic website about Common Core and its integration of video games and digital technology in the classroom. Does Common Core assure the integration of technology in the classroom? And if so, how so, and how will this benefit students overall? Do you understand that question?
I do.
Okay, good.
Okay. So really the question is, does Common Core assure the integration of technology? No.
No.
That's why we exist.
Oh,
so
I see.
what we're saying is Common Core, set of standards, and over here technology's a part of every kid's life, right? And
Right.
every single kid plays games.
Right.
So we're saying we can use those games. What we do is we make the games and we take the standards and we say, we want a kid to be able to understand vocabulary and context. Now I'm going to design the game and use technology to help them get there.
As opposed to memorizing words
Exactly.
and all that stuff
Skill
that we
and
did.
drill, right? Or
Yeah.
opening a really big, boring textbook
I
and
know.
pages and pages.
Right.
Yeah.
This is from Kay. Will Common Core have a program for students who have dyslexia?
Well, again, Common Core are just a set of standards, so it takes curriculum. Now, we don't actually specifically address kids who have dyslexia, but there are
But somebody
fabulous
must be,
programs
yeah.
who are specifically for
Right.
kids who have dyslexia, and it actually helps them.
My nephew had
Really?
dyslexia. He's old, he's 30 now, but he had a hard time in school.
Yeah, it's tough.
But he went to a special school and he's fine. This is from Courtney. I read that a Carnegie Mellon report stated mixed reality games are more effective than flat-based digital learning games. Do you incorporate reality in your virtual digital games, and if you do, how?
Interesting. Well, Courtney, wow. Mixed reality games. I would say we incorporate reality, meaning we bring the real world in. So if you think about a game, sometimes I published the last Harry Potter, right? So sometimes you're a wizard or sometimes you're a warlock. Our entire premise is that the game is you are the boss. And kids, when you walk into our classrooms, they're really the boss. I mean, when you say to them, what are you doing? They say, I've just had to hire and fire people. My reporter just made me publish this report that's not accurate.
Wow.
So it's real world in that they actually
So
really
do they have
internalize
employees?
it. That in the game they do, absolutely.
Oh, in the game.
Yeah.
It's not
yeah.
other children working with them. I see. It's in the
No,
game.
in the game. But they go into the game and for them it's real.
Oh, yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
like that farm one.
Yes, right,
I mean,
Farmville.
people buy land and they grow corn, and it's like, what? I mean, it's fabulous. I just don't have the time to do that. This is from Ava. How do digital learning games affect children's level of engagement in their studies?
Great question. So back to the point about the textbooks. I was in a special ed class last week, right? And I asked the teacher how it was going, and she said, these kids would have had their hands up to go to the bathroom. They would have been looking at textbooks that were so boring, and instead they were all in a game and completely engaged in
That's
talking.
so
So
good.
that's,
What grade does it start?
So we start working with kids at 5th and 6th grade, and we go up through, all the way through 9th and 10th grade.
So what's happening from first grade to fifth grade? That's when they're not learning. That's when they get to the sixth grade, they don't know anything. They don't know math, they can't read. What's happening in those first 5 grades?
Well, I mean, if you think about literacy, you can break it into 2 parts. The first part is learning how to read. So the first part is phonetics, right, and learning how to read. And a lot of kids get through that piece. Then what happens is you need to read to learn. So then all of a sudden literacy is about thinking and what are people saying and how I'm interpreting this. So our whole philosophy is you can learn how to read, but unless you know how to do the second piece of literacy, you're not going to succeed. So that's why we start where we do.
I see. Let's see here. Sophia, you see a lot of pushback on Common Core. What would you say are the biggest challenges you are helping people face in the relation to Common Core through Classroom Inc.?
Great question.
That is a good question.
That is a really good question. I'd say the biggest challenges we see are for teachers. And I really feel for a lot of teachers who I see in classrooms because they're in it, right, in the classroom by themselves. They're being asked often to teach 30 kids of all different grade levels, and the schools that I go in, often they're under-resourced. So we actually not only provide the curriculum, but we often go in and help the teachers. We go in and coach and we give them materials. And so I think one of the biggest challenges that I see is the teacher in the classroom.
Well, I read somewhere that 50% of teachers don't want it at all, are threatening to
Common
walk
Core?
out. Yeah, they don't want the whole Common Core testing and any of it. And is that because they feel that it's too hard on the kids? It's too hard for them to teach it and become aligned with the program? I mean,
Well, I think some teachers probably don't like the Common Core, but the tests, again, have been rolled in really fast. And in some cases, states are changing the way teachers are evaluated. So they're actually using some of the tests to evaluate the teachers.
Oh, wow.
So that's putting a whole different pressure on the
them
teachers.
and their tenure and everything.
Exactly. So that's all of a sudden that's a different relationship that they have to those standards.
Yeah. So they're being tested too.
Yeah.
So this next question is from Vicky, and she wants to know, do you have any feeling as to why technology is so addictive to kids?
Well, for starters, I think it's addictive to all of us, right? I mean,
Right.
here we are in the middle of technology.
And games are technology.
Well, games are technology, and kids
So
are
you're
absolutely
using it.
We are using
Yeah,
it
that's
for good.
That's
Yeah,
right. You're
yeah.
using the addiction they already have to teach them something.
And you know, one of the interesting things about games, there's a lot of reasons it's addictive, and one of the things, if you think about it, is it teaches you that you have to fail to succeed. Because in a game, you can try 10 and 20 times, and you want to get to that next level.
Right.
So with the students that we're working with, students who are usually reading far behind, it's really hard to persevere.
Right.
In a game, you'll keep trying. You'll get it wrong, you won't read it, but you want to get to the next
damn it,
level.
You wanna,
exactly.
Yeah, you want to win.
Yeah, and so
Right.
that's where we use the addictive nature of gaming, that whole notion of it's okay if I fail. I know I
Right.
need to fail like 3 or 4
And
times.
it's good competition.
Exactly.
Because it's against yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, it's been really exciting talking to you.
It's wonderful to talk to you. Thank you.
I enjoyed it, and I learned a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. You'll come back sometime. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.